Hi, my name is Alec McClellan, and thank you for joining me. My presentation is focused on our ongoing efforts to preserve the archaeological record of the ancient Maya settlement surrounding Lamanai, a site in northwestern Belize. By engaging with members of several modern nearby communities, including Shipyard, Indian Creek, and Indian Church, we have started to raise awareness about the importance of the fields outside the civic ceremonial center of the site. Lamanai is a Maya center that has captivated the interest of professionals and non-professionals from many different positions and places in the world. It is known in the archaeological community for its extensive occupation history, which started as early as 1500 BC, continued through the famous Maya collapse in the 8th to 10th centuries, and became a seat of colonization by the Spanish in the 16th and 17th centuries, and finally by the English from the 18th century onward. A little less known are two of its neighboring sites, Coco Chan, which is 5 kilometers northwest of Lamanai and consists of a small center with several pyramidal structures surrounding a central plaza, and Kakabish, a medium-sized center that is 10 kilometers northwest of Lamanai and consists of several plazas surrounded by large temples and range structures. These three centers of monumental architecture form a settlement system that I've referred to as the Greater Lamanai area. Today, I'm going to talk about the fields surrounding these great sites in what is commonly referred to in Maya archaeology as the periphery. Before I get to that, I want to talk about the area that is known and thought of as the archaeological site of Lamanai. The Civic Ceremonial Center is found in the Lamanai Archaeological Reserve, a 950-acre park devoted to the preservation, conservation, research, and protection of the natural and cultural environment. The main tourist sites, located on the map to the right, attract visitors year-round, with populations peaking from January to March. Although the number of tourists visiting Lamanai declined over the course of the pandemic, prior to 2019, the site frequently had over 200 visitors a day. Many of the modern communities that interact with Lamanai, whether it's tourists from far-flung countries or the residents of nearby towns and villages in Belize, they recognize the site by its extensive monumental architecture. They witness firsthand the High Temple, the Mask Temple, and the Jaguar Temple, three major structures that are protected by the Lamanai Archaeological Reserve. But the area we recognize as Lamanai represents only a small portion of the Precolumbian people who inhabited the landscape in the past. The Lamanai Archaeological Reserve, found in the bottom right corner of the map, is surrounded by thousands of ruined structures. These structures are the houses of the commoners who supported the construction of the monumental architecture that tourists see every day. The fragile archaeological remnants of these populations fall outside the protection of the Lamanai Archaeological Reserve. It is this segment of the archaeological record that is threatened by destruction year after year as the land is developed for agricultural purposes. Thus far, we have identified 301 individual structures, many of which are formed into multi-structure plazuela groups, the common household arrangement found in ancient Maya societies. Two of the largest modern communities in the area are called Shipyard and Indian Creek. Shipyard, north of Lamanai and Kakabish, and Indian Creek to the south, are Mennonite settlements that have been expanding over the course of the last several decades, moving into areas previously covered by tropical broadleaf forest. The agricultural activities of the surrounding communities allow archaeologists to quickly identify and record evidence of past Maya settlement, especially if they are surveyed immediately after the removal of the forest. But after subsequent years of plowing, the archaeological record starts to degrade. In 1985, Shipyard was a small settlement with a number of camps arranged around central roads. In 1987, Shipyard had a population of only roughly 2,000 people spread out over less than 50 square kilometers. Most of the original community members immigrated to Belize which was then known as British Honduras, in 1958. Indian Creek, which is shown on the map to the south, wasn't settled until 1988. By 1995, both communities had expanded towards Lamanai and Kakabish. Shipyard pushed south, removing large tracts of tropical jungle, replacing palm with corn, and turning forest into highly productive farmland. Indian Creek did the same, expanding in all directions and creeping closer to the areas that were once heavily populated by the ancient Maya. In 1999, demographic information from Belize showed that the Mennonites had a birth rate well above the national average, a statistic that predicted the expansion witnessed in the next 20 years. By 2005, Shipyard in Indian Creek covered over 150 square kilometers, with the only remaining forest found in a 10-kilometer transect between Lamanai and Kakabish. In the literature, we have referred to this area as under siege, as the Mennonite communities move closer to the Maya ruins, buying up new plots of land to transform the forest to agriculture. By 2015, the transect between Lamanai and Kakabish was conquered by the continued expansion of agriculturalists moving into the area, with only several small plots of land still under forest, and the Lamanai Archaeological Reserve, which has protected the forest and the Maya ruins for over 5 decades. Population estimates in 2018 show that the Indian Creek and Shipyard communities now contain over 5,000 people, over a 100% increase over the preceding 4 decades. Since I began working in the area in 2010, I've been interacting with members of the various communities surrounding Lamanai and Kakabish, asking for permission to work in their fields and talking to them about the importance of the archaeology in the area. Some are interested in the artifacts and structures in their fields and engage with the past through site visits and observing us working in the fields. Others are less interested and carry out agricultural practices that can significantly damage, either intentionally or unintentionally, the archaeological record of the Maya in the area. One of the most damaging practices is agricultural chaining. This technique involves dragging a large, heavy metal chain between two front-end loaders to flatten and clear the landscape. It is highly destructive and turns a field marked by discrete ancient Maya residential houses into a mess of building debris and artifacts. In the image above, you can see a front-end loader resting on the remnants of an ancient Maya house. After agricultural chaining, you can see what the landscape looks like. In the foreground are the remains of a plazuela group, flattened for agricultural purposes. This technique is not only damaging because the residential houses of the Maya usually contain the burials of the people that once lived there, but it becomes increasingly difficult to identify individual Maya structures and to reconstruct what the lives of the common Maya were like. Over the last 10 years, we have identified many of the field owners between Kakabish and Lamanai, many of which come from the communities of Shipyard and Indian Creek. We have made strong inroads into their communities and have tried to lessen the impact of agricultural techniques such as chaining. In many cases, larger structures in the fields are now avoided and left with forest cover. By fostering relationships with the culturally diverse and ethnically varied communities in the periphery of Lamanai, we are helping to raise awareness of the importance and vulnerability of the unique cultural heritage of the entire region. We've built strong and lasting relationships in the community. This picture was taken in 2016 with one of the field owners of Coco Chan. I spoke with him briefly several weeks ago to ask for his permission to do excavations in the Civic Ceremonial Center of the site. He was interested, engaged, and his only concern was that we didn't impact any of the large trees that populated the site. In the coming field season, we will use drone technology to map and record evidence of ancient Maya structures in the periphery of Lamanai and Kakabish, and hopefully create a lasting 3D reconstruction of the landscape as it looks like in 2023. before continued work in the fields threatens to destroy portions of the archaeological record forever. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you to everyone who made this project possible.